which means if I commented on it, if I responded to a comment, those are all counted in that number right there. And I did not mean to click on that. So when you're looking at some of these metrics, they may be a little bit inflated right there, but that's okay because we're looking for total numbers. Reposts, that's obvious. Who shared it and reposted it. And the saves one means 11 people saved it because they thought that was valuable and want to refer to it later. So let's go back over here to the audience piece now. This is your new followers, and same thing. With that cumulative button, it's always going to be going up or laterally. But I want to show something here that I figured out a while ago, and it blew a lot of people's minds. Here is my total number of followers since I opened up my LinkedIn account over 10 years ago. That's how many new followers I had in the last year. Does anyone see something wrong here? Speak up or put it in the comments, please. I want this to be interactive.
You have 7,180 new followers, but your total followers is less than the amount that you have new? Question mark.
Exactly. That is the exact point I wanted to make here because no, I'm not starting to stagnate, Matthias. So what I wanted to point out here is your followers and your connections, they fluctuate over time because as it's been said that LinkedIn clears out bots and clears out people that have not been active for a while, and then people just unfollow you. So this number right here is very misleading as a cumulative number because, like I said, in the last year, I've gotten more followers than I have total in the last 10 years. So use this. I use this to track weekly or period performance more so than daily. So let's look at the last 7 days. And let's go to daily. So you can see here, unless you add 0 new followers and people unsubscribe then or unfollow you, then your number is going to be negative, but it should always be at least 0 or positive. But this is a good way to track, are you growing your network? Because network growth, I'll be the first to admit that I shamelessly do try and grow mine by actively sending out connection requests. And that's a whole nother discussion. But that's something I do personally for a lot of personal reasons. But you always want to kind of keep track of how are you measuring your success? That's something to think about. Now let's go back over here to your profile, because your profile has an analytics tab that I didn't know about until probably 6 months ago. So here under show all analytics, you can see a lot of different information about your account personally. So here you can see your post impressions, your followers, who's viewed your profile, and how many search appearances did you appear in, because people talked about wanting to find jobs. Well, if you're not appearing in people's searches, then guess what's happening? You don't exist. Now down here, this is one that I've found as kind of a metric for me to show my activity. And that is your comments. How many comments are you writing in a given week? I can tell you that it goes up to $4.99, and then at $4.99, it just goes to $4.99 plus and stops tracking you. I don't know that from personal experience, but I know a lot of people who have done that. It also shows you how many posts you've made in the last week. So those are all just different tools to kind of help you as setting goals for your activity on the platform. Because if we don't have goals of showing that we actually did what we're trying to do, are you trying to be active? Are you trying to engage with people, but you're not commenting? Then you're not engaging. So now there's a question of how do I know that my content is valuable? How do I know that people are following my stuff, or where am I ranking? That's something people are probably starting to wonder if you start posting a lot of content, right? Now, I have zero affiliation with this company. It's named Favicon. I'll put a link in the chat later. And what it is you go there, you create your account, it links to your social media platforms, and it does a few things. One is it gives you your rankings in your industries. So up here on my ranking stats, it shows me I'm number 30 in project management on LinkedIn in the US, 31 overall in project management across all social media. I'm 123 in the world on project management, and so on and so forth. Now, what does this mean? Really, absolutely nothing, but activity and consistency are the keys. Because over here, where is it? Where is it now? Why is it not working? So here, there it is. So under detailed stats, it'll show you once it stops loading. All right, we'll come back to that. So if you're creating a lot of content, there's also a thing here that's not pulling up where you can get a report of all of your posts that you've written, because we write a lot of content, right? So how do we find it? Because on LinkedIn, you've got to keep scrolling back through months worth of stuff sometimes. And I've written posts where somebody will write something, and in the comments, I want to reference something that I wrote to them. There was somebody who a couple of weeks ago wrote about something, and I said, "Oh, hey, here's what I do. Here's the post about it for reference," because she was talking about how does she track all of her tasks. And I said, an Eisenhower matrix is great for that. And I explained what an Eisenhower matrix was. With this report right here, I was able to quickly search for that post, just Control F, find what I was looking for. And then it gave me a link right to that post to able to share with that person. So, and that is available right here under your creator profile under posts. It'll give you an option to export to CSV, which is where you download that file. So here, now that we're back up, now that it's finished loading, here, once again, data driven, so you get a lot of information. 95-day long posting streak. They have their own internal score that fluctuates based off of your content. And you can see here, where are people, your number of posts per month, your average engagement, when are people engaging on your stuff? This is all great to know if you're creating content, to know when is the best time, when are people engaging with your stuff, how is your content performing? Because the age old joke is, I spent hours and hours writing this and nobody cares, but I posted a random thought that I typed out in 30 seconds and it got tons of engagement. That's just the way it goes. So over here, you can go to your last 7 or last 30 days. And here it shows you, all that information. And I'm a project manager. I'm data driven. I worry about data. So this is kind of a way to quantify what I'm doing and where the information is. They have a paid plan. I don't pay for it, so I can't tell you much about it other than that. And like I said, I don't have a strong affiliation with them. So with that, let's turn this. I want to turn this over to the audience and give you plenty of time to ask questions about stuff, because I've given a lot of information out there. What are some of your questions or thoughts?
How often do you recommend posting?
I post
What's again?
twice. I post twice a day.
Wow.
I have a schedule that I use where I post on Mondays. That's my themed day. I started Movie Monday a while back, where every Monday I take a movie that I really enjoy and I break it down as a project management through project management fundamentals. Like I'll show you, yesterday's was Gladiator. But you don't have to post every day. It you build up to that. I started with, the first time I posted it, I was terrified of what to write for months. And then I was on a mentoring call and someone said, "You've given me 10 ideas of what to write in the last 30 minutes. Write something and post it." And I've worked my way up to twice a day. And there are people that do 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Wow.
So what I do is I do my movie Mondays every Monday morning. I also started almost a year ago, PM Monday, which is every Monday I take a project management concept or fundamental and I break it down into easy to understand language that's not project management speak. So my target audience is not project managers. It's people that know nothing about project management, hear the terms in the hallways and have no idea what they mean. And then Tuesday I post about my show. And in the afternoon, I post video clips. I've got tons of content that I've recorded where where it's talking head stuff. And then I mix between the week on my video clips, Tuesday through Friday, clips from the show, clips from just me pontificating about different things. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday are always thought leadership pieces. And then over the weekend, it's weekend thoughts, random stuff from parenting to what happened last week. I like to say that I like to keep my stuff humanized in a lot of ways because I want to be a person on LinkedIn, not an influencer. So when we talk about this stuff, for me, I want to be the same person I am outside of LinkedIn as I am on LinkedIn, because I know people, very influential people, who are crystal persona on LinkedIn, but they're complete jackasses privately. And that's great if that's the persona you want, but I'm the same person every which way.
Yeah, I love that. We have time for one question. Nick, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Trevor. Appreciate all the insight on LinkedIn stuff. Quick question for you. You had mentioned in the beginning of this to kind of get linked in with your community, essentially, what you're trying to essentially target. Feedback, or I don't know, thoughts on that is I'm pretty linked in with LinkedIn. Go figure, right? No pun intended. No, I'm pretty linked in with like the cyber community. However, I feel like it's just a bunch of people on there that are already saying the same things, that already kind of know the same things. It's not really, I guess different, if you will. So would your thoughts be like, wouldn't I want to join like maybe some project management or healthcare things and kind of talk about cyber within those types of communities? That way, we're not all just saying the same things from the rooftop, but now we're engaged in other communities. What's your thought on that?
Oh, absolutely. When I say target your industry for roles, that's where you go to meet the people that know about the jobs that never hit the market. I also tell people all the time that I'm a project manager by trade. I'm deeply in that community because I have to be, but I remember I had a mentoring call with somebody from a government agency that focused on cybersecurity. And after we got done with the military stories, he started with, "Tell me why you want to work for my organization, or what questions can I answer from you about my organization?" And I told him, "I want no part of your organization. I want to talk to you about what I do. So that way, when the time comes that you hear that there's a PM role open, I'm one of 3 PMs versus in the PM world, I'm one of 50 that all of us know." It does definitely behoove you to network outside of your industry as well. But if you're trying to find the people that know the jobs, start with your industry and then branch out, because that's a secondary strategy of branching out outside of your industry. And I'd say that's more of an advanced strategy than it is a entry level one, if that helps you, if that kind of makes sense.
Yes,
Yeah,
it does.
Because if you're just looking, if you need work now, those people are the ones that know where things are. If you're trying to plant seeds and build those networks and connections, that's where you go, because you're one of a few people. And if you've articulated yourself well enough with those people, they remember that, because they don't talk to these people. And, like this particular cybersecurity guy, he's like, I had no idea what project managers even did.
Mhm. Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on, Trevor. I think I actually learned something today. I would love for you guys to put a little emoji. If you guys learned something new about LinkedIn today, I think this is a super important thing for all of us to be learning right now as we're going out into the civilian world. So thanks for coming back and teaching us, Trevor. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
And
You too.
definitely add Trevor on LinkedIn if you guys want to be connected. I'll drop his LinkedIn right now if he didn't already.
And shameless plug, don't, I'll put the links to my podcast in the chat too. And just remember that it is a show about project management, but it's not only for project managers. Like I focus it as not high level, but one of the rules on my show is you are not allowed to use an acronym without being able to define it, because
Mm,
we have too many people with too many acronyms. And that's just something that I learned a long time ago in project management, is acronyms are dangerous if you don't define them first.
mm. Thank you so much, Trevor. Great parting.